So this is big. And when I say big, I mean big. Ukraine now has its own analog of glide bombs. Well, they don't really have them yet. They've tested them. They have developed them. They have to mass produce them yet. And the critical thing is, can they get the funding to mass produce them? But glide bombs have really menaced the Ukrainians because Russians took all their old dumb bombs and put them on these glide bombs and turned them basically into missiles. And that's what the Ukrainians have just figured out how to do. So let's see a little bit about this. Ukraine is testing new precision glide bombs. A range of 60 kilometers has already been achieved, with further tests planned for 80 kilometers. So if you can turn these dumb bomb munitions into missiles, literally, that's what these things do. They literally mounted cameras on the bombs themselves so that you can see like the flight path and what it looks like as the bombs drop off the plane and then where the bombs are going. It's pretty fascinating to watch, like seeing that it take off and then just kind of, go where it's trying to go. Now, what's going to happen with this? Again, this is a pretty new development. Ukraine has developed this analog of KABs with a 60-kilometer range. Here it is in Defense Express, just a couple of paragraphs from here. Ukraine's developed this domestic version of this module, the guidance and glide module for the 500 kilogram bomb is entirely our own design. The wings are easy to attach, taking just a few minutes, and there are no issues with integration. We are looking for every possible opportunity. The cost of one unit is approximately 1.2 million hryvnias. That's about $25,000. That's really cheap. At this stage, lack of funding is arguably the main factor holding back the completion of the project as it's transitioned to serial production. The demand for long-range guide bombs among Ukrainian forces is extremely high at 100 units per day. Like they'll put them to work if they can get them. So this is a good innovation for the Ukrainians. Okay, Ukrainian Air Force here is an image of MiG-29 launching 3 GBU-39s. And like once they can get those things off, again, it's inexpensive missiles. Fighter pilot Denflix destroys Shahed UAVs in the night. That's what you're seeing here. He's firing off and taking down some UAVs, some Shahed drones that are menacing Ukraine. Now, the Russians are also being menaced themselves by Ukrainian drones. Russia's gas and chemical refining plant in the Nizhny Novgorod region is on fire. Again, that name Nizhny Novgorod sounds familiar. It should, because they've been targeted again and again. Ukraine also just brought back its Bayraktar TB2 drones, and they're breaking through Russia's air defenses. Missile-armed TB2s are flying again over southern Ukraine. This was like the big innovation early on before the Ukrainians started going, you know what, we've got to develop our own material here, and it's like they put the entire country's brains to work in basements all across Ukraine trying to figure out how to technologically beat the Russians. Yesterday, there was a strike carried out on the outskirts of Luhansk. Among the weapons used was a missile drone. This is a new innovation, another new missile drone called the Peklo. Now, we've talked about this before. The Peklo is, we talked about this a couple months ago, but here we see it in action after it was rolled out, just like this new KABs. It has a range of 700 kilometers, a speed of 700 kilometers per hour. The strike reportedly destroyed a river crossing at the Idar and damaged a pumping station. So that's the debris. All right, let's turn our attention to what was going on the battlefield day over day. 1,100 Russian casualties, one tank. The tank numbers have been so low. Like, I'll show you something that's going on here with that. 7 armored fighting vehicles, 48 artillery systems, 111 vehicles and fuel tanks. So 1,100 is a lot higher than the 900 and change that it was yesterday or the day before. In the Pokrovsk direction, Russian invaders led 40 assaults. And again, the number of assaults and the number of casualties it seems disproportionate. Like there's a lot of assaults that are not really generating a lot of casualties. Army chief says that Russian advance in the Sumy border area has been stopped, tying down 50,000 Kremlin troops. Okay, it's been stopped. They're not we're not hearing a lot from the Sumy border. The fighting is intense there, but they're holding. Again, tying down 50,000 Kremlin troops feels like a little bit of marketing about really that you're having to fight with 50,000 troops. I mean, And then we saw this as well. This commentary here. Ukrainian fortifications have changed greatly from battalion defense areas with huge strongholds that were used at the beginning of the war. General Syrskyi explains that after the experience of defense of Bakhmut, the army moved to company strongholds, then platoon ones. That means they're spread thinner, and that might or might not be a good thing. It sounds like it's less of a good thing than it's good to have more reinforcements in particular areas. It could be marketing, but it sounds not so good. I have yet to meet a single soldier who served, this is commentary, on the front lines and agrees with General Syrskyi's opinion on this. His stance has been widely criticized by service members, yet somehow it's being presented as a success to English-speaking audiences. This sounds to me like they have fewer troops and that they're putting fewer groupings. The company is smaller than the battalion, for example. A company form or a platoon is smaller than the company, 3 platoons to a company. So that sounds like they're spread thin, but they're holding. At least for now, they're holding. Now, in Russia, employers refuse to hire military veterans who participated in the invasion of Ukraine. That's interesting. They're having to lie on their resumes about their military career just to get hired as delivery couriers. This guy got fired after he lied on state TV about his service. Aren't they supposed to be held up as glorified heroes? I don't understand why that's going on. I saw this yesterday. I didn't see this yesterday. Well, I saw it yesterday after Greg Terry and I put this video out about what was actually happening here. Russian hit squads are posing as dates and sellers of used vehicles and other equipment to eliminate Ukrainian soldiers. So they're trying to trick people like this guy, so Russian date trap fail in Kyiv. SBU busted a 19-year-old agent who tried to blow up a Ukrainian soldier with a scooter bomb. And there were more plots like this that were happening. So the soldier, what happened, and this is not the real soldiers, but he was like coming to like a dating app, a date, and he showed up and the woman said something like, "Oh, go get the key," buzz in the apartment building, "Go get the key. It's under the seat in the scooter." And he goes over to the scooter and it would have blown up. He just like got a kind of a spidey sense, sixth sense kind of. Go watch the video. You'll see what's happening here. And it wasn't just that. It was in multiple places as well. Multiple other issues, not just a dating app, but also trying to purchase something. And yeah. Okay, Russia's churning out hundreds of new T-90M tanks. Well, not new, refurbished. But why aren't they all in Ukraine? Moscow is stockpiling its best armor. The question is, for what? So we saw this number here earlier of how many like tanks there were actually, like only one tank, and there was one tank earlier in the week and that sort of thing. They're holding on to them for something. But it's weird to hold on to them because tanks are just getting like destroyed by drones. It's fascinating. Okay. Meanwhile, Poland's lower house of parliament, the Sejm, has passed a bill to withdraw from the Ottawa Convention. That's Poland, which bans the use of production, stockpiling, and transfer of anti-personnel landmines. Ukraine must immediately follow Poland, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania in withdrawing from the Ottawa Convention. That's the right decision, says Anton Gurashenko, which contributes to protecting countries from Russian aggression. Ukraine cannot be bound by any restrictions when it comes to defending its people from the T-state of Russia. There's a reason why every country close to Russia is unbanning these mines that they signed onto an agreement to ban. Russia withdraws forces from Kaliningrad, Poland says. Russia tries to form new units near Finland. Its forces are being stretched thin. That's prompting a major withdrawal from Kaliningrad, according to the Polish foreign minister. Okay. Russian troops could vanish into a forest and pop out inside NATO, the Suwalki Gap. Russia doesn't need a blitz, just fog, forest, and time. And the former CIA chief in the United States said, I would look at the Suwalki Gap as the most likely place. That's the area connecting Kaliningrad and Belarus are separated, but by that Suwalki Gap, which goes through Lithuania and Poland, and that could be the next hotspot. The war in Ukraine is not likely to end within the next 3 years, says the Lithuanian president. Okay, He's somebody paying attention to this because this could be coming through his country. He says the war in Ukraine is not likely to end. Quote, I hope there will be a resolution to the war in Ukraine before the next EU multi-annual budget period begins in 2028. But I'm not very optimistic at the moment. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And he's not rooting for it to go on for a long time, but that's his assessment. Well, and that's his assessment, while Solyov says that they should be inviting Houthis and colleagues from Somalia to Kaliningrad, right, which is right on the border of Lithuania. I think it's a great idea to invite Houthis to live in Kaliningrad region, and maybe also to invite some colleagues from Somalia. They love fishing and maritime. It's no coincidence that almost all Somali pirate leaders studied at Russian universities. They're great at playing battleship. The Houthis will hunt with drones, and the Somalis, out of habit, will explain to the Balts who's boss. Okay, so just more saber rattling from Solovyov. Okay, here's just some obligatory Russian drones being intercepted by UA drones just because I like it, and this is my video after all. And then finally, last couple things, Ukraine opened its first mental health center for T survivors after Russian captivity. 90% of POWs report abuse, including beatings, electric shock, starvation, psychological T, and sexual violence. The St. Leo of the Great Mental Hospital or Health Center in Western Lviv features therapy spaces, art workshops, home-like accommodations designed to help survivors recover from the trauma. The facility, funded by Flanders government in Belgium, prepares to serve 1,000 patients annually. As of May 2025, Ukraine has freed over 5,757 prisoners. There's still another 7,000 prisoners held in Russian captivity at this point, but another exchange has taken place. Warriors of the armed forces, the National Guard, the State Border Guard Service are returning home. Most of them have been held since 2022. Yeah, it's good to see them back. And then finally, I'll leave you with this. My friend Darth Putin says, on this day in 1940, the USSR gave Romania an ultimatum to cede large parts of the country to the Soviet Union or be invaded. Imagine us threatening to invade countries to take their territory in this day and age. Yeah, that's where we are. All right, my friends, that's all that I have for this video. Thank you for your time. Put your comments below. Thank you for the time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.